No.
No.
What?
Mic check, mic check. Allie Bauman reporting.
Coming up on NCC News at 4, the familiar Price Chopper name is going away. We'll tell you about the store's rebranding and what changes you can expect.
And the Cicero Fire District presents another proposal to rebuild Station 1.
And I'm Allie Bauman. Syracuse waves the flag for Veterans Day. NCC News at 4 starts right now.
The familiar Price Chopper name is going away. The grocery store chain is changing its name. Good afternoon, I'm Alexandria Lava.
And I'm Sarah Breckbill. But first, it's Veterans Day, and the Central New York community is honoring all those who served our country. That's our top story. Onondaga County held a Veterans Day ceremony this morning, and our Allie Bauman was there. She joins us live from the On Center War Memorial, where the county was honoring those who have served. Allie?
This year we're honoring the 70th anniversary of the D-Day invasion of Normandy during World War II. This morning I was here and I got to meet and thank some of our local veterans. Today is the 11th day of the 11th month, and this morning at the 11th hour, Syracuse was honoring our veteran heroes.
Central New York is one place that really appreciates the military, and I appreciate that, and I thank you for that.
Veterans of all generations who had been deployed all around the world gathered at the War Memorial Arena at the On Center for music, poetry, and to remember their service.
You find out who you really are when you're away from home in the middle of something you thought you'd never be in the middle of.
More than 6,000 Americans died on D-Day 70 years ago, but today was not a day to mourn, it was a day to be thankful. Thankful for those who have returned and for the sacrifice of those who have not.
But they made the supreme sacrifice for us and our country.
We can never honor them enough for the sacrifices.
Wave your flags proudly. A lot of people died for it.
And the Veterans Day celebration continues tonight with a dinner in Skinny Atlas, 6 to 9:30, and it's not too late to buy your tickets online.
Today, Central New York veterans were also honored for serving our country by being able to receive free dental services from a Syracuse dental office. Veterans of all ages took part in the Eastwood Dental event from the time the office opened this morning until 4 this afternoon. Veteran Tom Duns heard about the event through the paper last year.
It was advertised in the paper, and obviously Dr. Laura is here to honor her family and us veterans. So I think there's a need for what she's doing. I have medical insurance, but it doesn't cover the dental part.
Dunn said he enlisted in the Army when he was just 18 and right out of school. He said serving the country was a good long-term decision.
The remains of an Ithaca soldier have been identified more than 60 years after he died. Army Sergeant Michael J. Barrow was serving during the Korean War when he went missing in action in November 1950. It was revealed later he died in February 1951. The Pentagon said his remains were identified through DNA samples from his brother and sister. His remains were among those turned over by North Korea in the early 1990s. Now, the Onondaga Indian Nation is commemorating the 220th anniversary of the signing of the Canandaigua Treaty. Members of the tribe had a ceremony on the front lawn of the Ontario County Courthouse. Chiefs, clan mothers, and federal officials were expected to be a part of the celebration.
Price Chopper announced today they will undergo a $300 million investment to rename and rebrand the company. The grocery store's parent company, Golub Corporation, says it will begin massive changes to the stores this spring. Since Price Chopper was founded in 1932, the chain's new name will be Market 32. New stores will have more dining options and new products. The first newly built Market 32 will be in Sutton, Massachusetts, with work starting there tomorrow. Once again, the Cicero firefighters are pushing to have Station 1 replaced. The fire district is now asking for permission to sell property to the Cicero Fire Department so they could build a new station. A second public hearing was held yesterday to discuss whether the district should be allowed to sell the land. Previously, the project was denied because of the high increase in taxes. Cicero Fire Commissioner Jim Perrin says this time the new proposal will not include a significant tax increase.
Student protesters are in day 9 of occupying Syracuse University's admissions building following the Diversity and Transparency Rally last Monday. The protesters formed the group The General Body and have created a list of demands for the university's administration that they believe are necessities for student life. The group has been rallying for issues including increased mental health services and sexual assault counseling. Members say they are hopeful for change.
As a member here, The General Body, I'm really hopeful that we are going to see change and that this is going to open up a new channel of communication and that students next year and the year after us, they won't have to fight this hard just to get something what I think basic and fundamental, especially to their safety and security on campus.
Protesters say that until the administration creates a plan to meet student needs over time, they will not leave the building. Now, an Oswego High School graduate is believed to be dead after a plane crash in the Bahamas. The Royal Bahama Police Force believes Diego de Santiago was on the private jet that hit a crane and crashed near Freeport. De Santiago served as a prophet and was traveling with well-known pastor Miles Monroe. All 9 people on board died in the crash.
Residents from 12 apartments in Liverpool returned home yesterday after evacuating this past weekend. A fire broke out Saturday in Breckenridge Apartments' main electrical service unit that required residents to leave. Vice President at Longley Jones Management Corporation says the American Red Cross helped the evacuated people with hotel expenses until they were able to move back home. Now, the village of Tully will receive $3.1 million from the federal government to improve their drinking water system. Renovations will include replacements of the village well house, the water storage tank, and the small water line. Village of Tully Mayor Beth Greenwood says that the project will result in doubling the cost of all water for all users, but will also give people clean and safe drinking water.
A local marching band from Baldwinsville will get to play for a national audience. The marching band from C.W. Baker High School will perform in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. This is the first time a band from Central New York will play in the parade, and they've been preparing for over a year. The parade is November 27th. Now, looking outside, it is beautiful, especially for November. Kristen, is this weather expected to stay?
Well, unfortunately, Sarah, not for long, but it is beautiful out here right now. I'm not even wearing a jacket, and I'm quite comfortable, and that's usually not too typical for November here in central New York. Currently, it's 60 degrees outside, believe it or not. The barometer is holding steady at 29.87 inches. Humidity at about 56%, and there's a slight breeze out right now, winds gusting south-southeast at 9 miles per hour. Now, as I mentioned, 60 degrees is quite warm. Not quite as warm, though, as our record high. That was 72 back in 2002, but I wouldn't turn that down. That's a beautiful day. And our record low was 19 degrees back in 1957, so it's been a while since we've been that cold on November 11th. Our normal high should be at about 50, so we're about 10 degrees above our normal high, normal low at 34 degrees. Now, taking a look at tonight, scattered showers predicted for the evening. It'll be clear, but then some showers will be coming in as we get later into the evening. The winds are going to pick up a little bit in the south, 10 to 15 miles per hour, with a chance of rain at 50%, low at 51 degrees. That's all for the weather outside. I'll have the full weather forecast coming up later on. Back to the studio.
Thank you, Kristen. Coming up, America is Ebola-free. The last American with Ebola was released from the hospital this morning.
And the captain of the South Korean ferry that sunk has been charged. The last known person in the U.S. with Ebola went home today. Last month, the American doctor Craig Spencer was the first person diagnosed with the virus in New York. Spencer was a volunteer for Doctors Without Borders and helped treat Ebola-stricken patients in Guinea.
He was treated in an isolated unit in Manhattan's Bellevue Hospital. Doctors say Spencer received a blood transfusion from another Ebola survivor, but fluid and salt replacement was also important in his recovery.
New York City's first and only Ebola case successfully treated. Dr. Spencer is Ebola-free, and New York City is Ebola-free.
Spencer says he is a living example of how protocols for the disease can work.
Well, it feels more like September in central New York. It seems like the Midwest is in the middle of January. In some places, temperatures have plunged 40 degrees below normal.
The storm started late Saturday night and has already dumped 6 inches of snow across North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota. Some locations are even expected to get 20 inches by this afternoon.
9 states and millions of people have been hit by the storm. Even Southerners are feeling the effects, with freezing temperatures in Oklahoma and parts of Texas.
At the same time, President Obama is in China meeting with President Xi Jinping. The United States Postal Service has been hacked.
And it looks like the Chinese government is behind it. More than 800,000 employees' data has been stolen.
The Chinese government denies the accusation and points to Chinese law which prohibits cybercrime.
The data stolen includes social security numbers, dates of birth, names, numbers, addresses, and other employee information. No credit card information was breached.
Since June, Hawaii's slow-moving lava has been creeping toward the community of Paoa, and just yesterday, the lava destroyed its first home.
Within the past 4 months, the lava has flowed almost 14 miles, and residents have been preparing to leave their homes for weeks.
No injuries occurred. In fact, family members watched from a safe distance as their home burned to the ground.
It's been 2 years since lava has claimed a home in Hawaii. The only other buildings destroyed in town were a cattle feeding shelter and storage shed.
The captain of the South Korean ferry that sank last April has been sentenced to 36 years in prison after abandoning his passengers.
More than 300 people died in the accident. Most were high school students on a class trip. Lee Jeon-seok was among 15 crew members on trial.
Prosecutors wanted the death penalty for Seok, but the judges said he was not the only person responsible.
13 other crew members received sentences of up to 20 years. Seok is in his 60s and will most likely spend the rest of his days in jail. During President Obama's address to the APEC Summit, or the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, he let Chinese leaders know the U.S. wants the world's 2 largest economies to work together.
Obama's week-long trip to the region was meant to find some common ground with Beijing leaders.
The United States and China have agreed to implement a new arrangement for visas that will benefit everyone from students to tourists to businesses large and small.
At the same time, Russia is also trying to build a relationship with the Chinese. As far as Obama and Russian President Vladimir Putin, the 2 leaders crossed paths, but the tense relationship was apparent, with just a few words exchanged during the day-long meetings.
Egypt's most dangerous militant group is joining with ISIS.
Ansar Biat al-Makdis is known for slaughtering hundreds of Egyptian soldiers and police officers. But with the group's new affiliation, its focus could soon shift from just attacking Egyptian military forces to mass killings of civilians.
The Egyptian government is worried the new affiliation could deter Western tourists from visiting, which is a huge moneymaker for Egypt.
Now coming up, there's beautiful weather in central New York today, but weather reporter Kristen Eskow says winter may be coming our way. Your forecast coming up.
saying earlier, that polar vortex that's come over to the Midwest and is going to hit our area, unfortunately. Now, what usually happens with the polar vortex is that cold air usually circulates around the North Pole, but sometimes that tends to come down into the United States, and that could happen again this year. So the temperatures right now in the Midwest are going down to as low as -20 degrees, so sub-zero temperatures all throughout the Midwest and the Great Plains, and unfortunately it does look like it's coming our way. So taking a look right now at what's going on in the Northeast, there is snow up north of Syracuse in Canada, and Minneapolis, as we saw from that video over there, those snowy conditions. They've got about 3 inches of snow or so, but a lot more, as you can see, some areas as much as 1.5 feet. And so looking right now, though, currently, as you can see, that hasn't hit the whole country quite yet. 63 in New York today. As I mentioned earlier, it's about 60 degrees outside right now. 70s down as you get into the southeast. And as you can see, those colder temperatures, as I mentioned, have arrived in the Midwest and Great Plains. And the surface map right now, you can see a cold front blowing, coming through from the Midwest over in our direction, and a warm front pushing up into Canada. And not much rain right now on the radar, only in the Midwest, Michigan and Indiana, and a high pressure system to the south. So looking right now at the current temperatures, it's about 58 in Syracuse, just starting to drop as we head into the evening. South and east of the city, though, it's a bit cooler. Portland 55, Oneida 55, Casanova, it's about 54 over there. And if you look right now at the radar in our area, you can see it's crystal clear, not a cloud in the sky right now. It is absolutely beautiful if you want to head out before the sun goes down. And so you can see there's nothing really coming our way. So looking at tonight, though, however, it will change as we head later into the evening. It'll be clear early evening, but we will have scattered showers later on. Winds gusting south at 10 to 15 miles per hour. 50% chance of rain for the whole evening, and about 51 degrees is our low. And tomorrow, we will see that rain continue in the morning, but luckily it will clear up in the afternoon for another sunny day. A little bit windier than today, winds at about 10 to 20 miles per hour. And the high temperature will be 52 degrees, a little bit more like normal at this time of year. Our normal is about 50. So taking a look at the 5 days, you can see it's about 60, it was 65 today it got up to in Syracuse, 52 degrees for tomorrow, and then say it ain't snow. Look at that, 38 degrees as we head into the end of the week with snow on Thursday and Friday, but luckily that will clear up for Saturday. Saturday is partly cloudy skies.
Thank you, Kristen. Coming up, the U.S. and China reach a major trade deal that could lead to lower costs on international technology.
And the first stages of NASA's journey to Mars begins tonight. See why the spacecraft's move was postponed.
When you're ready, you can read. Okay, this has always been an issue for me.
But yeah.
The white, are you on the white line, Aaron?
I mean, but the picture's gonna be like here.
Yeah. We will frame it, so it's fine.
Okay.
For the first time since 1996, China and the U.S. have reached an agreement on trade tariffs for information technology products. The breakthrough was announced this morning at a news briefing as President Obama is attending the Asian Pacific Economic Summit in Beijing. Obama was quoted in an interview with this Chinese news agency saying one of his goals was to push China on the importance of free and fair trade. U.S. officials say the eventual effect of the agreement could eliminate duty costs on certain international tech products. In a video posted on the White House website yesterday, President Barack Obama addressed the Federal Communications Committee on the issue of net neutrality. Currently, internet service providers are lobbying the FCC to allow fast lane services where certain websites would work faster after paying a fee to the ISP. Several large websites, including Google and Reddit, oppose that plan and side with those who want the internet to remain free and open, a sentiment the president talked about in his video.
That's why I'm laying out a plan to keep the internet free and open. And that's why I'm urging the Federal Communications Commission to do everything they can to protect net neutrality for everyone. They should make it clear that whether you use a computer, phone, or tablet, internet providers have a legal obligation not to block or limit your access to a website.
This announcement comes days before an FCC deadline on the issue and if it will be voted on at the upcoming December meeting. Well, the move of the Orion spacecraft to its Cape Canaveral launch pad will take place tonight at 8:30. Yesterday, NASA had to postpone the rollout 24 hours due to high wind and lightning. The spacecraft will launch atop the Delta IV Heavy rocket without a crew in early December. This is an animation of that mission. The mission is designed to make sure the spacecraft can handle heat and shield the stresses for the Envision for future flights. The Orion is a vital element in NASA's plan to eventually send astronauts on a journey to Mars. Former iPhone users who switched to non-Apple iPhones now have a way to access their text messages. Many iPhone users who changed to other devices complained that their text messages were being held hostage. To correct the problem, former users can now enter their phone number in the Apple's website and they'll get a text message with the confirmation code. The code will cancel the iMessage service and allow the text to go to their new phone. And that's today's technology news. I'm Jordan King. Back to you, Alexandria.
Thank you, Jordan. Now let's check in with Erin to see what is coming up at 4:40. Erin?
We have another half hour packed with news coming up at 4:40. Here are just two of the stories we're working on. And just in time for snow, Syracuse has rolled out a mobile app in sync with all the parking meters in the city. Find out how you can keep out of the cold and feed the meter while still inside. And with a look around the world, the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria speaks out to the United States about the United States' refusal to sell lethal weapons to Nigeria. We'll tell you how the U.S. made its decision.
Coming up, this year marks 100 years since the beginning of World War I.
And we'll show you London's eye-catching display honoring their fallen soldiers.
Oh, really? Where am I looking? This morning, a sea of red surrounded the Tower of London as the final poppy was planted to commemorate Armistice Day. Volunteers have spent months installing a little over 888,000 handmade poppies, each representing a British and Commonwealth soldier who died during World War I. Later, the poppies will be sold and the proceeds will be shared between 6 charities.
Now, I'm sure that's a beautiful sight. I've been to, the London Eye myself, and it's a gorgeous building, so I'm sure that's quite something to see.
And that they're giving it to charity. I think that's just amazing.
Yeah, well, that's all for NCC News at 4. I'm Sarah Breckbill.
And I'm Alexandria Lava. Thank you for joining us and have a great evening.